Hey everybody, how y'all doing? It's your girl, your diva in knowledge. Lady Mocha represent Mocha's Cafe de Paris, where I'm always serving you wisdom, knowledge, and spiritual awareness. I want to thank each and every one of y'all for stopping in to view today's content, to check out the recipe on today's menu. I want to thank all my A1s from day ones. I want to thank all of you who have still been a loyal subscriber to my channel, and those of you who have recently subscribed, I welcome you to Mocha's Cafe de Paris family. So, moving right in today's recipe, what is the topic that is on the menu? Today, I'm going to be discussing why successful women struggle with relationships or settle for bottom shelf males. As you're starting to notice, it is becoming a trend, it's becoming a pattern. With a lot of these industry women that are very successful, these talented singers, these talented actresses, women in the industry that have paved the way to their success, have had to overcome a lot of obstacles, and even with all their multi-million platinum records, even with all their Oscars, their Grammys, all of the awards, everything they have ever achieved in life, the one thing they cannot achieve is a successful relationship. And there's many factors pertaining to this. Now, I know one of the biggest problems when it comes to a lot of these industry women, such as Mariah Carey, Nicki Minaj, Britney Spears, Jennifer Lopez, Halle Berry, the list goes on. There's so many that we can name. Rapper Trina, Mary J. Blige, the list goes on. It's a lot of women, talented women in the industry who cannot catch a break when it comes to a successful relationship or a successful marriage. And we're going to break down all of the ingredients to the recipe as to why these industry women are not being able to succeed when it comes to relationships. So they end up settling for a bottom shelf male, or they just go from relationship to relationship. They become a relationship grasshopper. They go from one man to the next man to the next man and so forth. So there's many factors that play into this. So one of the biggest issues with that a lot of people misconstrue when it comes to a lot of these successful women, these singers, these rappers, these actresses, it's this misconception that because these women are stunning, because they are beautiful, because they are successful, that automatically puts them in the running for as far as being marriage material, and as far as being able to achieve a successful relationship. It's this automatic assumption that these type of women can automatically get any man they want, or in most cases, they can basically conquer any man that they want. And this is so far from the truth. And the reason why a lot of people assume this is because being that these women, for instance, we'll just use Mariah Carey and Nicki Minaj. The fact that so many men, just even the average men, that's not even part of the Hollywood or the industry world, just the fact that they are desired by so many men who find them sexy, who find them appealing, who find these type of women gorgeous, which they are. It's this assumption that they have a lot of choices. And this is far from the truth. In fact, women in the industry have less choices than women that are not even on their level. And I know that doesn't make sense to a lot of y'all. Like, how the hell, Mocha, why would you even say that? Women that aren't in the industry have more options compared to women that are in the industry. And the answer is more simple than what many of you may think. The problem is women in the industry, they have many obstacles when it comes to the dating pool. The first thing is, the problem is they can't deal with average men because it's risky, due to the fact that An average man could just be attracted to them or dealing with them due to the fact that they are successful, they are making money, and who they are. So women that are in the industry, they can't just pick up average guys like us average females can. Like, I can go to T-Mobile, I can go to Verizon and meet a guy that's attractive there, and as we're both leaving a Verizon store or we both leaving the mall, hey, how you doing, miss? I'm wondering if you was doing anything this evening. I would like to take you out to dinner. Me being an average woman, my expectations, if the guy's at least decent and he acts like he has some respect, especially compared to how a lot of these men are acting today, 9 times out of 10, I'm willing to give him a shot because I'm average like him. So my expectations don't exceed a whole lot. More so if you are a woman that are realistic, because let's face it, some of y'all women, y'all are unrealistic. Y'all want NBA players when you still living off Section 8 housing, but that's a whole nother story. So the industry woman, on the other hand, she cannot just pick up an average guy because she has to be very careful due to the fact that she is well known for who she is and what she has. She's going to always be skeptical of the average dudes because let's face it, a lot of women who have downgraded and dealt with just average guys that were not as successful as them, non-industry dudes, a lot of women got used. Britney Spears can tell you that. She picked up Kevin Federline. The dude was just a dancer. He was a dancer of hers. Average dude. He wasn't nowhere on her level. And he ended up taking her for everything she had. He was so infatuated with who Britney Spears was, but as far as her success, but not as she was, who she was as a person. So she got used. Jennifer Lopez, the same thing. She picked up a couple of background dancers. She was dating this really young guy one time named Casper. Brought him a brand new truck. Dude was using her. And Mariah Carey has I've never known Mariah Carey to be really any average dudes that's not in the industry. She's been with men, most likely the majority of men she has chosen has been in the industry, but that hasn't worked out in her favor either. So I'm going to also discuss that. So the problem with being an industry woman, a woman in the industry of success, you cannot pick up average dudes because they're going to use you because of your name, your notoriety, your success. Let's face it, you got some dudes out here trying to secure the bag. No different than when Jill Scott was dating one of the men. No, I think she was, she was married to one of the men that was in her band. I think he played the drums. They hadn't been married that long, and already she had to pay him some money. Through the divorce. Brandy was going to marry a non-industry dude, and he didn't want to sign a prenup. So that marriage ended up not going through because dude didn't want to sign no papers. So these industry women, they can't win when it comes to the average guy because these average dudes are trying to capitalize. They don't want to sign prenups. Keisha Cole baby daddy did the same thing. Nico Kell, a young dude that she had her second child from. He got with Keisha because Keisha was Keisha. And now after they have broken up and and I guess they're getting along as far as co-parenting for the sake of the child, he's all on Instagram stunting and flexing like he been this star all along, and it was nobody knew who he was, until Keisha Cole got with him. But the dude, he was a young boy. I don't know what she was expecting out of him, but she wasn't really going to get anywhere with him. But again, I can name a list of women who have picked up average guys, and it usually ends up backfiring. These average guys don't want them for them. They don't love them for them. They love them for what they can offer. And we've seen plenty of women get bamboozled, like I said, with Britney Spears. Picked up an average dude that was nowhere on her level, and he ended up taking up everything she has. To this day, she's still paying him child support. Him and his new wife has been living off of Britney Spears' income to this day, you know. And Britney Spears has had a nervous breakdown. She's going through a lot behind it, but we're going to go more into that. So the successful woman, she has to be very cautious of the average dude that's not even in the industry, because again, these average Joes, they're trying to secure the bag too. They want a woman with money too. You know what I'm saying? So the other issue with being an woman of the industry is that you also have the industry dudes. Now, one would think that, okay, if you're a successful woman and you're making a lot of money, it would make sense to be with a man that's on your same level, who also makes money just as much as you do. It worked for Jay-Z and Beyonce. And they're one in a many that have been able to sustain their marriage. Even both of them have a lot of notoriety and success, and the only reason their marriage has continued to grow and sustain this long is because both of them have realized that love and marriage is more important than just success and money. Because if it was all about money and success, they probably would have, their marriage probably would have not survived this long. So they have figured out the key ingredient to keeping a marriage work, especially because, like I said, both of them are successful. And when you have two successful people that end up marrying or have a relationship together, what tends to happen is these egos clash. I'm successful, you successful. I think I'm better than you. You think you're better than me. So that's why a lot of these Hollywood couples, they just don't work out. You know, it's too much money, too much ego, too much selfishness, too much arrogance. You know, one thinking they're better than the other. You know, I made you. No, I made you. You know, it's a lot of that when you have two people in the industry that link up and connect and get together, and they end up bumping their heads simply based on egos. So women of the industry, they also have to be careful picking up other men of the industry. For instance, Lil Wayne, some of the women that Lil Wayne have been with has been women who are just as successful as him. And it didn't stop him from dogging out Nivea. It didn't stop him from dogging out Laura London. He still, they couldn't land him. They couldn't make him commit to them no more than average females could. You have other women in the industry as well. Mariah Carey. Now, keep in mind, Nick Cannon, he was not really a scrub, but let's face it, Nick Cannon wasn't making the money Mariah Carey was making. You know, people was familiar with Nick Cannon, but his fame or popularity didn't enhance until Mariah Carey. So he got with Mariah. Now, this is not to say she made him. She didn't make him. Nick Cannon already had his own success, but she made him bigger than what he is, than what he was when he was by himself. And that's just the truth of the matter. But what tends to happen is some of these industry women, they can be very diva-ish. They get bit by the diva bug to the point to where they think they could treat any guy that they feel like is in love with them like trash, because it's this egotistical attitude. Well, I'm Mariah. Every man wants me. Every man desires to be with me. So in her mind, she felt like Nick Cannon should be grateful that she would even be willing to choose him out of any man in the industry. And a lot of these industry chicks do that. They get with these men, and especially if the man seems like a little desperate puppy, like he's so into her, he's so infatuated with her. A lot of these industry chicks, they play on that. They play on the infatuation of some of these dudes that are gullible. And what happened was, in the initial beginning, you know, Mariah Carey had Nick Cannon like a puppet, and she was pulling by the strings. He was younger then, of course, so she had him, and she's older than him, so that gave her an advantage. So she had Nick Cannon dressing up in costumes, you know, like he was a child with the kids they had. I mean, just had him acting like a bona fide better male. I mean, holding her umbrella. You know, Mariah Carey was basically treating Nick Cannon like, you know, he was her chaperone, her servant, holding her umbrella. And I mean, I get it. You have some men who love to cater to their women, but sometimes it just comes a point where you can come off as looking soft. This woman has you dressing like a clown. She's picking out your shoes. She's picking out what shirt you should wear. Y'all always got to dress alike. You can't have your own identity as a man. You can't have your own say so. And Nick Cannon was infatuated with the fact he was with Mariah Carey. Just her name alone made him take a lot of her diva-ish ways off of him, off of her. He tolerated a lot. Not only that, he was young. A young man who can be with a woman that successful, that gorgeous. Who would have passed that up? But what he found out, like Safari, who was with Nicki Minaj, found out that, yeah, the infatuation wears off once you have to deal with the real woman behind the name. He found out there was way more to dealing with Mariah Carey, the singer. He had to deal with Mariah Carey, the bitch, Mariah Carey, the diva. Same thing with Safari Samuels, who was with Nicki Minaj for 10 years before her career blossomed and before she was able to become this multi-millionaire platinum artist or whatever. He basically, he was like, she treated him basically like he was part of the entourage. And he said that Nicki Minaj was treating him more like an employee instead of her man. Before she started getting big, in the game, and she developed an entourage with Meek Mill and Young Money, which is Lil Wayne, before her career fully blossomed. And she ended up, collaborating with a lot of these other successful rappers like Drake and Meek Mill. And, she started being in the presence of other men that was just as successful as her. She no longer had that same respect or love for Safari. Safari was looked at as the bag boy at the grocery store that just bags groceries. And sometimes fame will do that to people. Fame will make people forget where the hell they came from. Now, it was all right for Safari to tag along when she was, just was doing demos, just recording in the studio when she was a nobody. Even though he helped to write some of her songs, he was there with her every step of the way. He knew Nicki before we knew Nicki Minaj. He knew Onika. That's her name. He knew Onika before we knew Nicki Minaj. And like a lot of people who get in the industry, when they start getting around other people who's making money like them, they start smelling themselves. They forget about those who was there when they was a nobody, when they ain't had nothing. And Safari got to a point like Nick Cannon where he was like, fuck this. I don't care how beautiful you are, how gorgeous you are. You got all these millions. I'm not about to sit up here and be treated like a fuck boy. And I'm sure a lot of it had everything to do with, I'm sure there was other dudes in Nicki's head. I'm sure Meek Mill, because it was very ironic how her and Meek Mill ended up right together as soon as Safari removed itself out the equation. He was already in her ear. That didn't happen. 9 times out of 10, the industry dude, Meek Mill, was already in her head. Telling her she's beautiful, you deserve a man who's on your level. He finessed her. And next thing you notice, Safari out the picture, she all up and down, all over the place parading Meek Mill. Like he been her man all along. And all it was, he been in her ear. And this is what tends to happen. A lot of these industry women get in the industry and they'll let these industry dudes make them think you need to be with somebody on my level. When in actuality, Just because you're a woman in the industry, it does not mean you'll have a better connection with a dude that's in the industry. Because like I said, sometimes too many egos, too much money, egos get inflated. Why you think there's so many Hollywood divorces? You would think with all the money people have, all the success, that would keep them together. No, it actually does the very opposite. It drives them apart. And that's why a lot of industry women, successful women, they struggle with relationships. They can't get the average guy because, like I told you, 9 times out of 10, he could use her. But at the same time, industry dudes are no better. And then the other thing is, a lot of successful women in the industry, they don't really care to deal with industry dudes because industry dudes are not threatened by them. When you have a man that's making just as much money as you, or if not more, they're less liable to tolerate anything from you or to take any shit from you. And see, a lot of these women know that. I mean, all honesty, Nicki Minaj knew that. This is the reason why she couldn't really pull a lot of the guys in the industry. A lot of people trying to figure out, okay, how did she downgrade and get a pet Pookie? As successful and beautiful as she is, most people would have expected her to pull a Beyonce move. You would have expected her to get a man just as successful and great as she was. But because she wasn't willing to humble herself, she had to choose who would choose her. Now, I'm sure even with all of Beyonce's success, and you may have a lot of people who don't care for Beyonce as far as a singer, but you can tell she kind of has that humbling spirit to where she's going to allow Jay-Z to lead. She's going to allow Jay-Z to be the man of the marriage. She's going to follow him and allow him to be the man of the house, the lead, the husband, the king. You can tell Beyonce she gives her husband, Jay-Z, that respect to be the king, and he does the same thing. He treats her like a queen as well. And it didn't happen overnight. It was a lot of disrespect, a lot of things they had to go through for their marriage and their relationship to mature. I mean, Jay-Z admitted to his cheating. Not many of these dudes would do that. And Jay-Z has always been a private guy. He's always been very secretive. You never really knew much about his personal wrongdoings or anything. But when he did an interview, he was honest about, even though she tried to hide it, and she would throw hints in her songs about Becky with the good hair and stuff, he was the one that put the cat out in the bag and said, hey, I messed up. I stepped out. And I had to do whatever I could to make it right. And that's big of him. I mean, you have some men who walk around here and act like they never done no wrong and they only cheated because their wife wasn't doing what they said do. They'll make all the excuses in the world. He took accountability for that. You know, and he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to open the world up and let him know that he was that guy. But I guess in a sense, he felt like he owed that to Beyonce by being honest and being transparent, having to prove that I'm willing to be a changed and better man, even if it means me putting myself out there, and I'm not that kind of dude. I've never been a dude to put my business out there, but if that's what it's going to take for me to convince you that I'm a changed man, if I got to step out my character a little bit and do something you know I normally would not do to prove that to you, then I'm man enough to do that, and that's what Jay-Z did. But the truth is, a lot of women in the industry, they cannot luck up and get men that are just as big and successful as they are. Because for one, these industry women, they cannot control dudes in the industry. You cannot control a man who's just as successful as you. No, just hypothetically speaking, Nicki and Drake would have never been able to be a couple because he has just as much success as her, and vice versa. So the moment there's a disagreement or there's a falling out, they're going to bump heads and both of them going to be like, fuck it. I mean, I can always upgrade. Again, egos are inflated when both of y'all are successful. So Nicki been through many industry dudes before she picked up Kenneth Petty. She tried to vibe with Nas. That wasn't gonna work. She caught herself dating him, and Nas is way too mature, way too masculine, too manly, too intellectual. That was not gonna work. A lot of y'all probably didn't even know that Nicki Minaj and Nas linked up, because that's how quick that relationship came and went. It didn't even get nowhere. It wasn't even a relationship. Which I think he would have been good for her, because I think he would have matured her and made her a woman. He would have made her grow up. But Nas is on a whole nother level, and you have to be a very strong woman intellectually. You can't be a bird, you know, a bird, a pigeon. You can't have a pigeon brain dealing with men like on Nas's level. That's very you know, that has strong spiritual discernment. That's highly intellectual on his level. You got to be a certain type of woman to vibe with him. And Nicki was not that woman. Then I heard she been with Eminem. I heard all kind of guys she tried in the industry. And I get it. Sometimes you got to keep going till you get it right. You just don't throw in the towel because it didn't work out with you and this dude, you know. So she been through industry dudes. She been with Meek Mill. She tried all these guys. These guys had just as much success as her. So therefore she could not tame them. She could not control them. She could not regulate them. And they was not threatened by her. So when all else fails, Mr. Pookie will prevail. And that's what happened. When Nicki Minaj saw she was not getting anywhere with these industry dudes, none of these dudes was checking for her. She picked up someone who she knew she could easily conquer. It wasn't going to take much work to pick up Kenneth Petty. Who is Kenneth Petty? A registered sex offender. A registered sex offender who has more restrictions than a little bit. And this is what tends to happen in the Hollywood world. A lot of these industry women, they become very lonely very easily. And let me tell you something, y'all. Women in the industry, they have better chances in depression and feeling lonely compared to average women, because I'm going to tell you why. Women that are on the average scale, we're more accustomed to loneliness because the majority of us are by ourselves. We're used to struggling. We're used to having to do things on our own. So it's not to say that we never feel lonely. Average women never feel lonely, but it doesn't depress you as much because you're not so big up there to the top, in which your expectations are so high to where you feel entitled or privileged to being with somebody. Now, this is not to say that some average women don't think that way, because some do. But for the most part, you know, you're kind of used to being on the losing end. And I don't think that's the right word to say, but that's the best I could say. Now, the problem with being an industry woman, because you're so successful, they already have this sense of entitlement. They don't think they're supposed to be by themselves because, again, you have all these men who desire you, all these fans who envy you, who, you know, are envious of your success. You have all these men who desire to be with you because you're this sex symbol. So loneliness for the industry women hits harder than it does for average women, because, again, when you have everything, you feel like you're entitled to everything, you know. And this is the reason why you have a lot of these women who go out here and end up, these industry women who go out here and end up making basic bitch moves. They start getting desperate. Britney Spears, Nicki Minaj, Jennifer Lopez, you know, these women in the industry who have failed consecutively with multiple men who they just can't seem to grip, who they just can't seem to land. So that's when desperation kicks in, because you have to understand the psyche as how these women think. I'm this beautiful sex symbol. I have a 12-bedroom mansion. I have millions of dollars in the bank account. I got 3, 4 cars in my garage. I can travel anywhere in the world. With that type of attitude, what tends to happen is you start to feel, and I said it earlier, you start to feel the sense of entitlement. Like, I'm too great to be single. I should be with someone. I have heard women in the industry say that they're too beautiful to be by themselves. You can look at women like Mariah Carey, Nicki Minaj, Jennifer Lopez. They may not verbally say it, but I'm telling you, they're thinking, I'm too gorgeous to not have a husband. I've heard one of the celebrities, I can't remember who it is, but she basically felt like she was too pretty to not have a husband. I can tell you who it was. Chili from TLC, Rosanda. She had her own little reality show out when she called herself, it was called What Chili Wants, when she called herself dating and meeting all these different guys. And she wanted Floyd Mayweather so bad. Floyd Mayweather was her guilty pleasure. Now, it's not to say Chili is not a beautiful woman. She's stunning. She looks great to be darn near knocking on her 50s, I think, or she's in her middle 40s. The woman is stunning. But as stunning as she was, she couldn't make Floyd Mayweather interested in her. Because these industry dudes are so picky and so choosy. They want what they want. And men in the industry, because they can buy what they want, 9 times out of 10, they want exactly what they want. That's why you see a lot of these industry dudes, you'll see them with a certain type. You'll see them pick the same type of woman. When they break up with that one, you'll see them go with another woman. Hell, she like the last husband, the last girlfriend, the last fiance he had. Because it's that privilege. It's that industry privilege. Well, I'm a star. I'm a rapper. I'm an actor. I'm a singer. They're used to paying for everything anyway. So they feel like they can pay for the type of woman they want until they find out they done paid for this woman, meaning that they lured her in with their money. You know what I mean? Lured her in with their lifestyle, taking her to the finest restaurants, letting her drive on the passenger side of the Bentley. You know, women get to experience that. Even if they don't love your ass, they'll find a way to try to learn to love you. And it's not because of who you are, but it's because of what you have to offer. And that's why a lot of these men in the industry, they can't get it right. They lure these women in with their money. They lure in these average women or these industry women. And these women find out in their own way too. Both of them end up suckering each other. Because again, you got a lot of these females out here who are all about securing the bag. So they get with these dudes and get introduced to the lifestyle. Get used to riding on the passenger side of the Rolls Royce, traveling in the most extravagant countries, eating at the most exquisite, expensive restaurants, and they find out behind this million high value man status, this ninja is a straight asshole. These cameras on you, everybody thinking you're living a good life. Paparazzi catching pictures of y'all smiling together as y'all coming out the restaurant, but you're miserable as hell with this man because he, with all his money, he seems like this fun, adventurous guy, but you got some millionaire men that are boring as hell. They boring. They don't have much to talk about, or they so full of themselves they don't try to get to know you. You know, a lot of these women find out the hard way when you try to be slick and shady and only deal with men to secure the bag, and now that you're with this man, you done landed him, got his attention, y'all are dating, y'all together, you find out with all of his, industry benefits, he can get all the VIP tickets and, he can he can take you to any Bentley or Porsche parking lot. You can pay out any car you want. They ain't got to run your credit because of who you is. But then they end up miserable. They find out he got everything, but I can't connect with him. We don't talk. And it doesn't become special because what he do for you, a man spending money on you, especially men in the industry, you're not, what these women find out is they're not special because just like they could spend money on you, they could spend money on several other women. For instance, Floyd Mayweather has enough money where he can buy 60 females a goddamn Bentley and still don't be broke. And you think because he bought you something, you special. This is why a lot of the women that have been with him have left. Like Chantel, she went from damn Floyd Mayweather to Nelly. And we know Nelly ain't hitting on near as much money as Floyd Mayweather, but she found out securing that bag is more to it than that. That's why you have to be careful running behind these high value men. She ran behind Floyd, just like Floyd. Well, she tolerated a lot off of Floyd, just like Floyd paid for her butt booty, her Brazilian butt, and her tits. He done paid for a lot of booties. It's a lot of tits and booties that Floyd Mayweather owns. That's roaming around our industry. He done paid for a lot of bunkies and titties. He done even said he wanted his booty and titties back for all the women he done sponsored, including Chantel Jackson. She had to lower her standards, and it's not to say Nelly is inferior, but let's face it, we know that's a drop. You know what I'm saying? You have a lot of these females who think they could secure the bag only to end up miserable. When you find out these industry dudes are not all of what they're cracked up to be. And as I stated, that's when a lot of them resort to picking up these average guys or whatever. And that's what Nicki Minaj did. That's what Britney Spears did. They picked up guys who they knew would not be a challenge. Kenneth Petty was not hard to get. Kenneth Petty was not hard to get for Nicki Minaj. And what happened was she started getting desperate. Because again, it's the sense of entitlement. I am Nicki. I'm the rapper. I'm this multi-million mega platinum record artist. So she's already feeling like she's entitled to a husband. So if I can't earn one, what better way than to pay for one? Because what she got out of Kenneth Petty, she wasn't going to get that out of Meek Mill, Drake, or any other guys in the industry. Because they was going to give her a run for her money. Because they have just as much as she has. So she wouldn't have been able to put them on a leash and pull them and drag them and put them in a position where they would have to take all type of stuff off of her. The industry dude's not a challenge. So she took the easy route. She took the easy scapegoat. Pick up an average dude who don't have anything. So that way, it's easier for you to conquer him. Now, keep in mind, he was already in a relationship. Kenneth Petty was with a stripper. If you look it up, she looks just like Nicki Minaj. He evidently has a type. He likes light-skinned women with Tupperware bodies. That's his type. Same thing with Britney Spears. Britney Spears tried to land all type of dudes in the industry. She tried to get Justin Timberlake from NSYNC, a couple of guys in the industry. That was not going to deal with her because they had just as much as she didn't. So there was nothing she could do for them that they couldn't do for themselves. So what did she do? She opted for the trailer trash background dancer. Now keep in mind, Kevin Federline was already in a relationship with Shar Jackson. Shar Jackson played as Moesha's best friend on the show Moesha. I don't know if her name was Kim or something. I forgot. Niecy. The brown skinned sister who played Niecy on the show Moesha that we used to watch back in the day. He left his pretty black woman for Britney Spears. He saw opportunity. That's what them average dudes are. Opportunists. Jumped ship, got with Britney, and guess what? Britney had no filter for how she was parading and flaunting this man's her and this man's relationship around town, not having any empathy for what Shar was going through. She didn't care that she hurt another woman. Now you have a lot of these women out here, they don't care that they take another woman's man. Now, it's not to say you can't steal nobody's man. Let me first off say that. A man can only be taken if he wants to be. But you still dare wrong, even if he did agree and to comply. Britney showed her ass with Karen Federline. They was on every magazine cover together. And when she got pregnant from him with his first child, she had the audacity to wear a shirt with the arrow pointed down. I got the golden ticket. She had no remorse for how Shaw was hurting. Because at the end of the day, I don't care how different we are as women, we all are the same emotionally. You know how it feels when a man hurts you and parades his new woman around, especially when y'all was in a relationship and like y'all agreed to break up. And you played a part in it. And you didn't feel bad at all. But guess what? The jokes was on her. Because Kevin Federline gave Britney Spears more hell than a little bit. That's why you got to be careful messing with somebody else's man, messing with somebody else's husband. Because even though they are just as wrong, they are more wrong because they're the ones married. But when you participate and you go along with the shenanigans and you rub it in the other woman's face, you don't care about her pain, her shame, and you walking around like a goddamn kid with a Happy Meal and smiling and shit. Okay, when it's your turn to get burned, don't be in your feelings. And when I say Kevin Federline did way more to Britney than he ever did to Shar. Ever. He took her kids. He didn't take Shar kids. No, why was Shar wasn't making the money Britney was making. He knew what he was doing. He intentionally took Britney through hell and back. And Britney mentally jumped off the deep end because she couldn't understand why Kevin Federline was treating her the way why he was treating her the way he was treating her. But that's the seed you sowed, sis. And when you sow that seed, the way you get them is how you lose them. When he hurt Shar, at least Shar took it like a champ. She stayed in the background. She said one or two things about it, and she kept her peace. And she took her pain and her shame and kept it moving. Britney Spears couldn't handle it. So Britney Spears shaved all her goddamn hair off her head, taking an umbrella, lashing out and trying to hit the damn paparazzi. It's funny how you have women who was still somebody else's man and you ain't mind hurting the other woman, but you can't handle the hurt as gracefully as the woman who you helped disrespect. Shar didn't even cut up and do all the stuff that Britney Spears was doing. But honey, when Kevin Federline hurt Britney, she couldn't handle it. She had a nervous breakdown. And you know what he did? He got smart. He's a narcissist like a lot of these dudes are. Not all, but some. And he played it. When she had that nervous breakdown and paparazzi took a picture of her shaving her head off and taking an umbrella and vandalizing somebody's vehicle with it, he got smart and went to the court system, played on the court system, and pulled his kids right from up under her. And she ain't been able to get him back since. Not only that, he also have the kids turning against her. The kids want nothing to do with her or her father. See, God don't like ugly. You got to be careful how you do things. And, it's not to say that I don't have a little empathy for her, but you got to look at how this thing started. God don't bless no mess. You don't pull somebody else's man and think you're going to be happy and life is going to go on. I will say this. Kevin Federline was smart. When he got those kids, you ain't heard about him in no sugar honey iced tea. He knew he wanted to secure that bag. So in order to keep custody of those kids, he played it smart. You never heard about him in no trouble. Ever. You forget he even her father. He played it smart. Lawyer told him, hey, only way I can make sure Britney is going to keep compensating you for these kids, don't do anything to where you lose custody of these children. And he played it smart. Britney Spears money taking care of him and his new wife. He had his boys from Britney, and then I think he had 2 other kids or whatever from his new white wife, which is like a tennis player. She's a pretty woman, and he still has other kids from Shar. So, Kevin won all the way around the board. But this is one of the reasons that a lot of successful women are struggling with relationships. They get desperate. They pick up basic dudes, basic bottom shelf dudes, because industry dudes ain't checking for you. You have to realize the industry is like one big maze. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody's know who smashed everybody. It's like a big ass high school. Like, in high school, you knew who slept with who, you knew who smashed who, you knew who broke up with who. That's how the industry is. And we just hear pieces about it. But in that industry, everybody know everybody. And that is the reason why you have a lot of these women that are opting to get basic guys that's nowhere in the industry. Or if they do deal with guys in the industry, it's guys in the background. Like, you have a lot of these women in the industry, they may date and marry producers, movie producers, music engineers. They'll marry or connect with men that's like not as visible in the industry. But sometimes, depending on how big you are, you can make an invisible person more visible. Now, I said a lot of people didn't know who Nick Cannon was till he got with Britney Spears. He was low key. He did a movie here and there, but nobody really knew who the hell he was. But you have these successful women. They think they are God's gift to men, because the truth is, a lot of men do idolize some of these women. They worship the ground they walk on. They praise these women, tell them how fine they are, how sexy they are. They boost up these women egos. And then when these women get out there into the real world and try to be loved and try to have a relationship, and they find out it's men up here who ain't running behind them like that, they got to go for the average dude, because the average dude, they desire to be with women on this status. That's why it was so easy for Nicki Minaj to pick up Kenneth Petty. He never thought in a million years he would get a woman on her financial status. So when the opportunity presented itself, yes, he had to jump ship. He had to leave the woman behind who had been struggling with him all this time. Kevin Fairline did the same thing. If they got a woman, they gonna jump ship on that woman. If it's one that has more to offer. Just like my boy Jeremy Meeks. He was the one who had the glamour mugshot, and he ended up becoming a model. He had been in and out of prison all of those years, and he had a beautiful white woman who stood by him through years and years of him being locked up. And then when his picture went viral and all these thirsty ass women was drooling over his prison mugshot, the billionaire heiress Chloe Green, she knew he was easy to scoop up. And he was definitely way out of her league, because she comes from a very extravagant family. She's a billionaire heiress. Now, ironically, she wouldn't get with none of the other men in her same circle. Now, I'm sure her daddy had friends who had sons that was her age that she could have connected with. When you're in that industry like that, you know all kind of people from different walks of life. But because she was a basic Becky billionaire, she couldn't pull none of the billionaires on her status. So she had to opt for the bottom shelf beta male, Jeremy Meeks, who had a record from here to West Haven, Connecticut. She had to opt for him. So a lot of these don't think because a woman is in the industry that she can automatically get a man that's in the industry. It's just like you might have had that popular girl in school. You would have figured it would have been better for her to be with the popular boy. It would make more sense, right? I'm the popular girl. I should be with the popular boy. But no, it's in actuality, they both end up clashing. Popularity don't always mix with popularity. Money don't always mix with money. Success don't always mix with success. In fact, too much of the same thing can be a combustion. It could be explosive. But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with lowering your standards, but you have to be careful with how low you lower your standards. Picking up registered sex offenders, picking up men 12 years younger than you. A lot of these industry women are doing it, and they're paying the price for it. Now, even Jennifer Lopez, everything she has tried, she has been unsuccessful. Jennifer Lopez, even she had to resort to going back and picking up an old flame, which is Ben Affleck. She hasn't dated him in like years. He even had remarried and had another child on her. And after her and Alex Rodriguez didn't work out, she went and dug him out from the bottom of the damn clearance rack. I mean, she got just that desperate. She had to go all the way back and recycle a relationship. So that's what's going on with a lot of these females in the industry. They are either relationship hopping, going from man to man, or they got to settle, for a bottom shelf, dude, or they have to recycle an old relationship, because they don't feel like they have any other options. And the reason why, again, women in the industry will always be more desperate due to the fact is because they have everything. I mean, it's one thing to be lonely and you in a struggle. I mean, you just maintaining, you know what I mean? You living paycheck to paycheck or whatever, but it's worse when you have everything. When you have the house, you have the cars, you have the success. That's a different type of loneliness. And you wonder why the people in the industry resort to taking drugs, overdosing, killing themselves. As the saying goes, it's very lonely at the top. And these women have demonstrated that, you can't think because you have fame and you have success that you're automatically going to get everything just going great for you. There's a downside to everything. Yeah, you're going to be successful in this area, but you're going to struggle in that area. And that just kind of comes with the territory. A lot of these industry women, they're going to have a hard time finding love. A lot of them aren't willing to humble themselves. They don't feel like they got to, a lot of them feel like they're God's gift to men because so many men who have inflated their egos, so they don't feel like they have to humble themselves, and when they don't feel like they have to humble themselves, they're pretty much up for anything. That's how Nicki Minaj ended up with, Kenneth Pookie the pedophile. She wasn't willing to kind of humble herself and not be so overly masculine by being very overly dominant, being the dominant companion in her relationship. Unfortunately, it has costed her. And that's why she had to settle and she had to take what would take her. And that's what ends up happening a lot of times. A lot of these women in the industry, you look at it as, oh, they downgraded. Yeah, they had to. They had to downgrade. They didn't have a choice because, a lot of the men in the industry and their circle, they aren't checking for them. So it's so many reasons, the list goes on for why successful women struggle with relationships. Because at the end of the day, they're still women. They are still women. No matter how hardcore a woman pretends to be, no matter how much money she has, especially women with money. Women with money, they like to accessorize. Women by nature, we love to accessorize. If a woman gets the house, she wants the husband, she wants the car, she wants the children. Women by nature, we like to accessorize. If we get the pocketbooks, we got to get the shoes. We get the shoes, we got to get the blouse. We have to have the whole package. So when a woman has success, she automatically feels I'm supposed to have the world. I'm supposed to have a husband. I'm supposed to have everything. And when they're deprived of love, especially, it takes a toll on their self-esteem. And this is the reason why you have some of the women in the industry, they end up, they end up, suicide, they end up overdosing, or they end up in very toxic relationships and marriages. They really, they leap off the deep end. That's basically what I'm saying, because love is very hard to find. But and women by nature, we want to be loved. I don't care how hardcore these women act. Like, I don't need a man, I don't want a man, and I'm not saying you do, and I'm not saying you can't function without one, you can't be independent without one, but it's just in our feminine nature to want to be desired. And again, when you have all these men all over the world that are your fans, that are drooling over your album cover, that are kissing on your posters they got hanging up in their rooms at night, it's hard when reality sinks in that you can't get the men you really want to desire you the same way, even though you have all of these fans and have all these admirers who would do anything if the opportunity was to present itself to meet you. But in actuality, in reality, you cannot find men in the industry or men in real life who feel that way. Or if they do, yeah, they initially feel that way, but once they have gotten you and conquered you, then these dudes, their egos get the best of them. They start smelling themselves. Especially once you done your success has helped them get some shine on their spotlight. They start flexing on you. That's what happened with Britney Spears. Kevin Federline was a nobody. He got with her, and started showing his ass. He was everywhere. In the initial beginning, when they first got together, you seen them everywhere together. Everywhere. Like this happy couple everywhere. Once he conquered her, you started seeing him more with his homeboys. You rarely saw Britney anywhere. He was enjoying all Britney's money. He was enjoying the benefits of being with Britney, not actually Britney. He loved the benefits. And that's the thing when you're in the industry. People love the benefits of being with you. And it goes the same way if you're a man in the industry. A woman don't want you for you. She wants you for the benefits. She wants you for the lifestyle that you can accommodate her with. You know what I mean? So anyway, I'm probably going to do a part 2 on this if I feel I need to do a part 2. I think I covered all bases, but in the event I did not, we're definitely going to be chopping it up. We're going to talk some more about this. A lot of these successful women have to realize sometimes you got to get off your high horse. You have to humble yourself if you want to find the right guy. You can't have in your mind, I'm this bad bitch, I'm the baddest rapper, I'm this beautiful, stunning, gorgeous actress, and I'm this successful singer, so any man I want, I should be able to get, I should be able to control. Even if a man initially may start off and make you think that you got the upper hand, eventually he's going to flip the script and you'll be the one chasing behind him. You'll be the one running behind him. I mean, it has happened. I've seen women who get men and show their asses, and then when these guys get enough of it and they leave, they can't handle it. Mariah Carey had a mental breakdown when Nick Cannon left. When Nick Cannon got tired of Mariah, he rebelled on her. He booked. She had him so much up under her spell. He got this big ass tattoo, of Mariah on his back. When he left her, what the first thing he did, y'all? He got that whole tattoo covered up. That was his way of showing her, you do not have me up under your spell anymore. And when that happens, a lot of women can't understand it. It happened with your girl, Wendy Williams. I mean, only difference was this man was with her for many, many years. But let's face it, Kevin Hunter was with Wendy Williams at the peak of her career. He knew that Wendy Williams' career was going to take off. So he stood with her through all those years, managed her career, did all of that. And I'm sure the way Wendy Williams acts, she probably was the one wearing the pants in that relationship for a long time. Everybody's looking at Kevin Hunter as the villain, but, just Wendy Williams' persona alone lets you know she's very diva-ish. She got this diva, bitchy attitude. What I say gonna go and you gonna do it. You know what I mean? You wouldn't have the life if it wasn't for me allowing you to be with me to enjoy this life. So Kevin had to pretty much, go with the flow. And I did hear a lot of times he dominated things, and it's probably only because she realized at some point that even with all her success, she had to humble herself just a little bit because she didn't have much options. But when Kevin seized the moment to leave, he did that. And when he left, he had no mercy and grace on her integrity. He put it out there. He let everybody see him with his mistress. He let everybody be aware that he got his mistress pregnant. And also, he had taking Wendy to the court, and you know, the judge gave him a substantial amount of Wendy's income because he was married to her during the peak of her career. And Wendy is very bitter about that. Wendy has been going around attacking other people's relationships and marriages, and you know, she's in a bitter place. I really pity her more than I hate her, because it's embarrassing, you know, when your husband puts himself out there like that, you know what I mean, and he just moves on happily with his life. And you can just tell, you know, Kevin Hunter is way more happier now than he's ever been. And now that it's out in the open, he's not hiding it anymore. All before, he tried to hide a little bit, but now that they've divorced, you know, he's putting it all out there. But he's not sparing Wendy any mercy, and that's the least he could have did. But you know, it is what it is. We don't know his side of the story. We don't know what all he had to go through. Like I said, a lot of these industry women, they are a trip and a half. Doesn't matter how beautiful and stunning they are. Some of them are very mean, very nasty. Don't know how to talk to men. Don't know how to talk. Don't know how to talk. Like I said, talk to men, handle men. Cater, submit, not say be a slave, but just because you have a lot of money and success, it doesn't mean that you should treat somebody like a damn child, like a puppet. And a lot of these industry women do it. So anyway, y'all, leave y'all comment below. Let me know what y'all think it is. What are y'all reasons for why y'all think successful women struggle with relationships? And what are y'all reasons y'all think y'all have to settle for bottom shelf males? I mean, as stated, you know, Nicki Minaj, she settled for Pet Pookie. You know, and although she's around here parading it and flexing and flossing like she has such a great marriage, we know it's not all that gravy. A registered sex offender has a lot of restrictions. He cannot enjoy her lifestyle, you know, and I'm sure that has to suck for him because he's with a millionaire, but he can't do what she does. He can't go fly in other countries. He can't fly in New Zealand in her expensive private jet plane. You know, a lot of stuff he can't do because he's a registered sex offender. And rumor has it that she's been spending a lot of money trying to you know, she's been basically trying to help him become an unregistered sex offender. She's been trying to get him off. She's been trying to pay the female who accused him of rape, who actually was discovered, not just accused, but it had been discovered evidence that this man did commit this offense. They're not going to have you to register as a registered sex offender based on a woman just accusing you of it. Some receipts had to be produced, and the receipts were produced through an investigation that he had put a gun to this woman's head. He had raped her. You know, I'm sure they did DNA kits tests and all of that. And Nikki thinks her money is going to buy him off of that, and not understanding that that is not how the law works, sweetheart. But people with money that they could pay their way out of everything, anything. And she's been trying to pay him out of that because it's making her miserable, knowing that she married a man that's restricted. Now, she's not going to say that. She's not going to admit to that. You know, I know she was on, I think Lil Wayne had a podcast, and I guess she asked Lil Wayne, like, what's his favorite sexual position or something. And I think Lil Wayne said something about, like, he likes to be on top. And she just couldn't wait to talk about how her and her husband had sex. Like, she likes when he hits it from the back or something. I'm like, girl, get your life. You trying to convince us that you having such a wonderful time with your husband, smashing your Tupperware. I ain't trying to hear none of that. All of it is a front. Okay? This man can't hardly do nothing. You know what I'm saying? And you know he can't. You can't travel with him. You put yourself in a very limited situation because you got thirsty and you just hurried up and ran after the first man that was going to give you attention, and now you suffering because you're married to him, you had your child from him, but because he's a registered sex offender, he does not have the freedom that you got. He can't just travel other countries with you. He can't just up and go places, you know, especially where there's going to be a lot of children there. He can't drink. He can't smoke weed. He can't go on tour with you. You know, he's so restricted. And, you know, and I know it's holding her back from being able to live her best life because she really wants to be with him. But we'll talk about that for another day, y'all. But anyway, please make sure before y'all leave, hit that like button. Let me know what y'all think of this topic. Again, I appreciate y'all for rocking out with me, hanging out with me. Again, this is just Ziva and Knowledge. Lady Mocha, represent Mocha's Cafe, the Paris, who I'm always serving you wisdom, knowledge, and spiritual awareness. And please don't forget, before you leave, please hit the like button. It's free. I swear it's not going to cost you that. Y'all be blessed. Take care.